Now on 12, shocking allegations coming from a Connecticut state senator against a former coach at Our Lady of Mount Carmel. The latest on the claims of sex abuse from the senator and others.
Plus a call for more safety measures to be added to subway stations across the city. We talked to commuters about what measures will make them feel safer.
And a special ribbon cutting ceremony held today to welcome a local firehouse back to the Morrisania community. We're going to take you to the reopening of EMS Station 26.
Hello and thanks for joining us here on News 12 The Bronx on this Monday evening. I'm Michelle DeVone.
And I'm Jessica Cunnington. Tonight, bombshell allegations against a beloved Bronx Catholic school coach. A state senator publicly declaring himself a victim of sexual abuse, and he's not alone.
News 12 The Bronx reporter Anthony Carlo has the details from Belmont.
Yes, well, that basketball coach and facilities manager, Rudy Tremaroli, died in 1992, but he left a lasting impression on Connecticut State Senator Gennaro Bizzarro, a former student who is now speaking out. Bizzarro, one of roughly a dozen men filing lawsuits alleging Tremaroli molested them as boys and forced kids to pose for nude photos. Tremaroli started working at Our Lady of Mount Carmel in the 60s. Attorney Jeff Herman says the alleged abuse happened throughout his 30-year tenure, affecting dozens, if not hundreds, of students. Herman says the state's new Child Victims Act allowed these men to take legal action by creating a one-year window for adult survivors to sue no matter how long ago their child abuse took place. Bizzarro says a community skeptical of the allegations caused him to speak out.
For me, it's about finally letting the people in this community know that there was a predator right in their own backyard.
The Archdiocese of New York giving us this statement. The Archdiocese takes all allegations of sexual abuse seriously, and we are continuing our efforts in responding to such allegations. However, we are not publicly commenting on individual lawsuits at this time. Now, Bizzarro's lawyer also says that he has evidence administrators knew of reported abuse but took no action against Coach Tremaroli. In Belmont, Anthony Carlo, News 12 The Bronx.
Now to the latest on a shooting that ended up with a dog getting killed here in the Bronx. Police say shots were fired in the area of Westchester Avenue last night around 8 o'clock. Cops tell us there was an argument between two men right in front of an apartment, and we're told one of the men shot a gun through the closed door and ended up killing the other man's dog. No arrests have been made yet.
Police also need your help finding a missing teenage boy from our borough.
Yeah, take a look. This is 16-year-old Wilder Nunez Ortiz. Police say he was last seen on December 15th around 9 a.m. at his home on Bronx River Avenue in Soundview. They are sending out the message again, hoping that someone can find him, so keep an eye out. And in September, Governor Andrew Cuomo announced a plan to add 500 more police officers to work with the MTA. Now the Transit Workers Union is asking for even more cops on platforms.
News 12 Sabrina Franza explains why from Park Slope in Brooklyn.
Two violent subway crimes in one weekend.
This cannot go unnoticed anymore.
A man's finger was bitten off at the 49th Street stop. The alleged biter apprehended.
We want more police. Respectful policing is the goal.
Another on 7th Avenue in Park Slope. A man was shot in the right ankle.
We want our police officers that are patrolling the system to have body cameras.
Advocates cite an overall decline in subway crime over the past years, but a recent uptick in certain violent crimes like misdemeanor assaults. TWU says that increase includes more assaults on transit workers.
That the TA workers, the transit workers, we live in the subway. Crime has not went down. It goes up.
And during a time of rising concern of how much policing is too much policing, we asked riders to weigh in.
I get on the same subway stop every morning. If I knew that I'd see the same officer, I would feel comfortable.
Would having more police officers in the subway make you feel safer?
No. Question is the distribution and the time that they're available and what they're doing.
The Brooklyn BP says he also wants to partner with local businesses, calling it Operation Safe Shopper, using his funds to place cameras on stores pointing towards subways.
Passengers want police presence. They want clean, efficient subway systems.
With those efforts combined, supporters say it would be easier to catch the 7th Avenue subway shooter who's still on the loose. In Park Slope, Sabrina Franza, News 12.
The MTA also becoming more accessible, including stations here in our borough as well.
Yeah, the MTA recently announcing which 20 additional subway stations citywide are being added to the list of 70 stations planned for upgrades, a $50 million capital initiative that will make stations compliant under the Americans with Disabilities Act, ensuring that subway riders are no more than 2 stops away from a handicap-accessible station.
In Councilmember Fernando Cabrera's district, 3 elevators will be installed, one at the Burnside Avenue station and another at the Kingsbridge Road station on the 4 line, as well as the Tremont station on the B&D line. He says the community has been waiting for this.
One of the messages that we send to MTA, if we're going to rezone this area, if we're going to have the success, if we're going to have the affordable housing, there's going to be even more people coming to our community. We need to have accessibility, and
renovations are expected to be completed within the next 4 years.
The city revealing safety efforts for pedestrians and cyclists as the days get darker earlier.
That's right. The de Blasio administration cracking down on dangerous driving during their 4th annual Dusk and Darkness campaign that started November 1st. It's all to keep the roads safer during the darkest time of the year. According to city statistics from November 1st to December 18th, failure to yield to the right-of-way to pedestrians summonses were up 89% to combat and lower these troubling stats. The DOT saying that it is committed to addressing and fixing dangerous intersections and corridors where these fatalities happen.
All right, we've been introducing you our newest addition to the News 12 fleet. It's Thunderbolt 12, and it has been out and about. If you do see it in your neighborhood at all, see it drive by, whip out your phone, take a photo, and definitely use the hashtag Thunderbolt12, or you could actually tag it using the @N12 Thunderbolt account so we can see them and we can share them.
And they're hard to miss.
Truly. I mean, it's a big Thunderbolt map. I don't even know what you call that.
And it's asking to be taken pictures of. Daryl.
Happiness.
So clear today,
nice
though.
Nice weather, beautiful. Nothing like the backdrop for Thunderbolt 12 there. Yeah. Totally different, well above average by many degrees. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but for right now, kind of focused on where we are. We're looking at a pretty clear sky. We're looking at our temperatures that will continue to fall back. So if you're going to be out and about, it'll be cold, but not as cold as it has been over the past couple of nights. Well, as you can see, we are looking at temperatures, middle 40s across the borough. And we're looking at a southwest to west wind. And it'll continue to be with us as we go through the overnight. Not extremely active. Some high thin clouds will push in through every now and then. We do have a cold front that's moving in our direction. The good thing about the front is it's dry. So we're going to see a little bit of a drop in temperature, a bit more in the way of clouds for this day than we had out there for yesterday. And then overall, we're looking at pretty decent weather as we get into Christmas. We'll talk about that in that 7-day forecast in less than 10 minutes.
Daryl, thank you.
There could soon be a bigger crackdown on sex offenders using social media.
Governor Cuomo proposing a bill that would apply to all sex offenders in New York. They would be required to give their usernames for all social media or any apps they use to the Division of Criminal Justice Services. That information would then be shared with social media companies, which would then be required to develop a policy for releasing it to their users.
It's feel-good legislation. It helps put some safety precautions in place, but it doesn't protect everyone. The real thing we need to do is community education and make sure we're training parents, teachers, anyone dealing with children, and how to identify pedophilia and how to combat it.
The bill would also make it a crime for sex offenders to misrepresent themselves online.
Well, Christmas came early for some local kids, all because of police officers who have a powerful message behind their presence. The African Law Enforcement Organization hosted a toy giveaway in Wakefield yesterday, with police officers handing them right out to dozens of kids. The organization was founded in 2010, and it strives to bridge the gap between the NYPD and the community. Organizers say they accomplish that by showing young members of the African community that they can trust police. Community members say this is definitely a step in the right direction. And a tenant at the Webster houses in Morrisania has gotten her building in the holiday spirit, and I have seen it firsthand. Marilyn Santos has created her own version of a winter wonderland for all of her fellow tenants to come and enjoy. She's decorated her entire side of the hallway and, as you can see, her entire apartment in hopes of uplifting those in her building and inspiring them to take part in the holiday festivities.
And no matter where you come from, just make the best of it, you know, and enjoy. That's what life is all about. You have to enjoy and give thanks and be grateful and being thankful.
Is right. Marilyn says she has been doing her winter wonderland decorations for the last 20 years.
For the first time in more than 200 years, Notre Dame Cathedral will not hold a Christmas service, and this comes months after the fire that devastated the Parisian landmark in April. A spokesman says Notre Dame hasn't been closed on Christmas since 1803. It even welcomed worshippers during the Nazi occupation of Paris during World War II. A midnight mass will be celebrated on Christmas Eve by the rector, but that will be held at a nearby church. In April, France's prime minister announced an international architects competition to rebuild and perhaps even redesign the landmark. French President Emmanuel Macron plans to have it rebuilt in 5 years.
All right, getting to your Health Matters report tonight. For the first time, more women than men are going to medical school. This new report from the Association of American Medical Colleges found in 2019, 50.5% of med students were women. 46,878 to be exact. The increase is part of a trend that has been growing since 2009. In the medical profession overall, male doctors still outnumber female doctors, 64 to 36%, but that could be changing too. An Athena Health survey found 80% of older doctors are men, but 60% of doctors under 35 are women.